Hi, my name's Mark Stallard and welcome to Little Green Man, where Canadian politics is revealed to be very, very sexy indeed. Oh, Canada, the true north, strong and free. Well, for some people, maybe. Rule of law is a conservative mantra. Rule of law! And one of the laws that we ought to hold dear is the right to a fair trial. Although due to some knee-jerk, cowardly neoliberal leaders, that right has been eroded. There are accusations that authorities can make against you and a citizen in good standing that gives them the legal right to imprison you, without trial. So yes, being accused of something will get you locked away without any recourse at all. As citizens, we are all supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. This is supposed to be a mainstay of democratic countries. It protects people from being incarcerated, locked away by despotic leaders, whether it is political opponents, critics, or the press, peaceful protesters, or just annoying people they don't want to deal with. A trial, a fair trial, is supposed to prove the person's guilt. It can't prove a person's innocence, although that judgment can be made. The reason being you can't prove a negative. You can only prove a contradictory positive. For example, I couldn't have robbed the bank because I was in a coma all of that week. That, of course, didn't prove I did not rob the bank. It only proved that I was in a coma. The logical inference can be made without fear of contradiction that I didn't rob the bank because I couldn't. I was doing something else. I had an alibi. So suppose in this fictional bank robbery $1 million was stolen and the investigators had decided they just knew it was me. Therefore they focus all their attention on me. If it goes to court, it could take years to conclude. And maybe if I returned the money, they might reduce my sentence a few years. But here's the kicker. The money could never be recovered. I couldn't return it because I never had it in the first place. And so I stay in prison for longer. Now, while the authorities focus their attention on me, the real bank robber is free to rob more banks. And what are the odds that a successful bank robber would stop at just one bank? So you see where this is going, I'm sure. The original bank lost $1 million. A dozen other banks get lost. They lose $1 million as well. So focusing on attention on me means the other banks get robbed by the original robber who had no fear of being investigated. In the meantime, the authorities would have wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to convict me, someone that couldn't have done it at all. Conviction or not, taxpayers' money would have been totally wasted, completely and utterly wasted. I led with this fictional bank robbery because you will have no emotional attachment to it. But of course, the real topic of this video isn't about me or my fictional bank heist. It's about something far more dangerous, something far more insidious, something far more laden with emotion. Imagine that you get accused and get locked away. No trial, no defense, only the faint hope that some judge or official, someone might take pity on you. For many accused, there is no hope. Of course, I'm talking about the accusation of being a terrorist. Hassan Diab, who taught sociology in the University of Ottawa, was accused of bombing a synagogue in Paris in 1980. Without consideration of any evidence, Canadian authorities extradited him to France. Under Canada's extradition laws, any evidence France submitted to the court had to be considered, wait for it, presumptively reliable. Even if it could be proven that the evidence was wrong. Think about that. A foreign country has more rights in Canada than a Canadian citizen. It's their word against ours. No, sorry, it's just their word. And by law, they can never be wrong. But they were wrong. They were very wrong. France contended that fingerprint analysis proved it was Diab, but it actually didn't. Years later, France reluctantly withdrew the evidence. France contended that handwriting analysis proved it was Diab, but the handwriting samples used to match him were of his ex-wife's handwriting, not his own. It wasn't even his own, and university records proved that he was in Beirut at the time of the bombing, writing exams. He wasn't even in France at the time of the bombing, but even after all that was known to Canadian authorities, he was still extradited and spent more than 3 years in solitary confinement in a French prison. All that time without trial, just waiting for France to build its case against him. Remember, they have already had 30 years to build a case and they couldn't. Diab was eventually released after a French court determined there was lack of evidence. But the French government is still full of bloodlust and they are pursuing the case still. Well, now let's put a human element into the story. During all of this, the phenomenal legal expenses that he was forced to pay, hundreds of thousands of dollars, rid his family of all their savings. Most of the bills were paid by anonymous donations. Diab missed his daughter's birthday 4 years in a row. He was denied permission to attend his brother's funeral, and his father died just a few months before his release, never knowing his son would be free. Diab himself said, well, what more can you lose? If you lose these things, there's nothing left in life. And in the meantime, the real terrorist is free to continue killing innocent civilians. The real terrorist may well have a literal bloodlust, but the people who deny Diab a fair trial not only have a bloodlust of their own to punish someone regardless of who did it, but they are guilty of being an accessory to terrorism after the fact, because they enabled the real terrorist's bloodlust to continue unabated elsewhere. The true North, strong and free, well, this case proves that the free part of the national anthem is a lie. Unless, of course, you are a lying politician or a corporation or one of the rich people that own them, then you'll get off scot-free because you are rich and all-powerful. Even if the crime is worldwide financial corruption or war crimes, you'll get off. Terrorism is closer to home than a foreign-sounding name. The real terrorists are the ones who pass laws that take away the freedom of all of the citizens in the name of freedom, because it is in the national interest. You might say, well, I haven't done anything wrong, so I've got nothing to worry about. But do you know who else did nothing wrong? Hassan Diab. Guilt or innocence is meaningless when all that matters is the accusation. Do you really want to take the chance that someone powerful doesn't accuse you, your mother or your father, or something that none of you did? And if you think the accusation of terrorism is proof enough, then I accuse you of terrorism, little green man. This is the back door to the Manitoba legislature. Now, if you hit the subscribe button now, hit the notification bell, then you won't be surprised when they try to stick something up your back door.